Okay. Hey guys, how's it going? This is my vlog for the final assignment. At least the final assignment that was assigned. I actually think I'm a couple assignments behind. I'm gonna have to email Louie about that just to double check because I don't want to, just not do a few of those. But regardless, so the game that I got assigned to play was Mice of Brittle Place, as I'm sure everyone else probably got assigned that too. And as a game that could be used as an educational tool. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was actually quite fun. It had a very interesting concept, and overall, yeah. If I mean, yes, it is an alpha. I mean, it's still. I mean, for something that's still an alpha, I'm pretty impressed with the way it was set up with with the one case that we had to do. It Yeah, I'll just kind of give like a kind of like some short thoughts on it. Controls for for just walking around the lab seemed very tight. Like it was, I mean, not tight in a good way, as in I felt in control. Like I didn't feel like I was going around. Although, and everything else, yeah. Overall, it controlled great. It was very. The controls were set up magnificently, and it controlled pretty well. It kind of reminded me. It honestly kind of reminded me a lot of games that use the Source engine, like Half-Life and Portal and Team Fortress 2, things like that. So that was really good. It was clear. I felt it was everything that I was doing was very clear. I knew what I was supposed to do, and it's got a very just walking around, especially not to mention the whole concept of you actually going into a biodome filled with mice to the little the little mouse robot walking around, and like the little touch how there was like the camera like screen in the center, and you could see the little mouse nose and stuff. That was a very nice graphical touch. Sound design wise, though, at least in the lab, the echo effect of the I think that was the computer, I believe anyway, seemed was a little annoying and kind of distorted. So I guess maybe just clean up the. I guess the best advice I could think of it with that is just kind of clean up the audio a little bit. Maybe make it sound less distorted. And voice acting and everything else wise, like for Carl, I guess seemed like it was pretty good, and so I enjoyed that. Uh, Within the another thing too, within the I like the idea of actually having to like there's a mystery and you have to investigate it. That was actually very interesting, and there were like these different clues that were set up there, and you just had to find certain ones and investigate them, and you just going off of like what you know before with the symptoms of what happened with Mrs. Worth, and trying to figure out what happened with her. And they were like, you had to find several different clues to try to bring up a hypothesis. It's a basic scientific method, and I think that's something that a lot of kids can get behind and work through. And it was very simplistic in the way it was presented, and I think it'll work in an education setting. The one criticism I will have though about the actual clues, it would probably be good if there was. I didn't find it, or it didn't work for me, but it would probably be a good idea to make the videos at least give them an option to be skippable, because there were a couple times where I was clicking through them and it seemed where I was kind of looking through the codex, and then it started up again when I was looking at the codex, so I'm just like, okay, I just watched this, and then I accidentally clicked on it again, so I'm like, okay, walk through the video again. It can get, I mean, that's just me personally, because I can be kind of impatient sometimes when it comes to stuff like that, so that's just being from a personal perspective, but at least give an option to be skippable. Yeah, it was very interesting though. Now I'm about to get to the one part of the game that I didn't enjoy whatsoever, and that was the and that was the minigame of using the spectrometer. It well, we're supposed to be blunt with the assignment, so I'm just going to be blunt. It was not fun. It did not feel like it was fun to play. I realized what it's trying to do and trying to go through and collect the samples and everything, but it felt like a mixture of Galaga and Flappy Bird, I think is really the best way that I can think of to describe it, with the ship like just constantly like just like going down and just slamming into the just slamming into the side of the walls if you didn't hold it up, and you have to like kind of tediously. It felt tedious. It felt extremely tedious. And I mean, something like that. I mean, the control scheme like that works in a game like Flappy Bird when you're just trying to angle it to avoid pipes and whatever things like that. But with something where you have to shoot, with something like a Galaga style shmup or shoot 'em up kind of type game, it doesn't really work because you basically, instead of trying to line up your shots, you're basically just mashing the mouse key, just shooting everywhere, trying to pick up especially when you're trying to pick up things, you have to like, okay, all right, and I missed it. Okay, hold it. Okay, hold W, just kind of do it, and I missed it again. Especially when the samples of like the carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and the hemoglobins and everything else, and the oxygen, that's just going everywhere, and you're just trying to grab onto it. It was tedious. It just wasn't fun, like with the way the controls were. So I guess the best way. I mean, if it weren't for having to hold W to keep the ship in the air, I think I probably would have enjoyed it more. But yeah, overall though, that was honestly really the only part of the game that just made me go, just it was just not fun. Wow, I kind of went a little bit. It kind of bugged me slightly. But so I guess that's really the only big problem that I had with the game. Especially after you got all those, and then after you got all those samples done, and then you went back into Mrs. Worth's apartment trying to figure out the solutions, putting the carbon monoxide monitor up, cleaning your chimney. It felt like you accomplished something there. Like you felt like you helped somebody out with like a severe problem that they had. And honestly, what something else that I appreciate about it is that it's something that it kind of raises like awareness to a problem that I don't really think a lot of kids are aware about. The fact that like carbon monoxide and stuff like that can be a huge problem. I mean, especially for somebody who's maybe a lot more sensitive to it, like Mrs. Worth, who I assumed was kind of a bit of an elderly woman. At least going on my own assumptions, anyway. If I'm completely wrong about that, I apologize. But that's at least the impression that I got. But yeah, it's got a good sense of accomplishment. It's very educational. The music is pretty fun. Actually, I really like a lot of the music too. The music in the game. The music was actually pretty cool. And the sound effects and everything. So, I guess really, in essence of, like, comparing with, like, all of the stuff that I've learned throughout the semester about video games, there was a sense of accomplishment. I felt like I knew what I needed to do. I mean, it had a narrative of you're a researcher. You're just called the researcher. You're more or less just called a researcher, so you can pretty much just so the player can pretty much just place themselves within the role. And so the immersion there is very good, and getting that set up. So, I'm actually honestly looking forward to see if there's like a full version of that, because I obviously know that I'm not the target age for it all. I mean, I got through the entire thing in about maybe half an hour or so. Half an hour. I'm probably even like shooting like high on that. It was probably closer to like maybe 20 minutes, maybe. I didn't like the Spectrometer mini game, so I'm probably that's probably what took up most of my time. Actually, is just trying to get through that, mainly because I'm not good at Flappy Bird at all. So that kind of control scheme. But I'm sorry, I'm going back on something that's really kind of like a blemish on what's otherwise actually a very good game. But I'm going back to that. But overall, I highly enjoyed it. I think it hit all of the good points that a good video game needs to do in order to be successful. And I honestly think that this is like if I was a kid, like in a classroom, wanting to just play a game and do stuff with it, I would probably enjoy this game a lot. And so far, so good on that. So good on that. And looking forward to maybe seeing more from that. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this next assignment, and I'll probably have a couple more this week, but just so we can get caught up. But anyways, I will see y'all later. So, bye.